Hello friends, myself Sunil Devkar, Assistant Professor in Department of English of Rao Bahadur Narayan Rao Boronke College, Srirampur. Today I am going to speak on the poem Pied Beauty by J.M. Hopkins. This poem is prescribed for second year BA students in compulsory English course. This is the second poem in the course Pied Beauty by J.M. Hopkins. So J.M. Hopkins, he was the Victorian poet. Victorian poet, it lasted from 1830 to 1890. The major characteristics of Victorian age are worship to God. So it was a religious period. And in this age, J.M. Hopkins, he contributed a lot. So if you see the life of J.M. Hopkins, he was born on 1844 in Stratford, England. He was a totally different kind of poet. Many contemporary poets revolted against his writing because he didn't follow the traditional norms of poetry. He changed the style. He was totally an innovative poet, and that's why we can see his works, they were not published in Victorian age, but they were published in 20th century after First World War. That means after 1914 or 1917 it was published, you can say. So even though he was a different kind of poet, the work which he has written is totally of a different kind. He has broken the traditional norms in his writing, and that's why he is a spring poet, or the rhyme scheme which he has followed in his poetry, it was sprung rhyme. So he introduced a new rhyming scheme in his poetry, it was sprung rhyme. So speaking about this poem, Pied Beauty. Pied Beauty means what? Pied means what? More than one color, multiple color beauty. Beauty, it doesn't have a single color. It has multiple colors. And these multiple colors, they are being mentioned in this poem. So with both these poems, one more poem I will speak about God's Grandeur, which he has written. God's Grandeur or Pied's Beauty. God's Grandeur, in Marathi we may call as Devacha Vaibhav, or Pied Beauty, colorful beauty, रंग बिरंगी काय सौंदर्य, कोणी दिलेलं? देवाने दिलेलं. So which has been given by God to us. So here in this poem, so he speaks about the sprung rhyme. And this sonnet is a curtel sonnet. Curtel means what? Curtel Italian sonnet. So we know a sonnet is a poem of 14 lines with rhyming scheme. It might be either English sonnet or a Petrarchan or Italian sonnet. So for English sonnet we may also call it as Shakespearean sonnet, and for Italian sonnet we may call it as Petrarchan sonnet. So here he has written in a Petrarchan style, but again what innovative ideas he has followed in this poem, it is that means he has curtailed the sonnet. Instead of octave and sestet, octave means 8 and sestet means 6, 2 stanza structure you can say. So here instead of that, what he has done, the first stanza there are totally 6 lines. And in the second stanza there are 4.5 lines. So if you see, instead of 8 lines he has introduced 6 lines, and the rhyming scheme is ABC of the first stanza. So it is of the first stanza. So here we could clearly see that instead of writing in 8 lines, he has reduced those lines into 6 lines. And he has introduced the new rhyming scheme, that is sprung rhyme. Sprung rhyme means what? So a stressed syllable, it is followed by unstressed syllables. So if you see all the first words in each and every line, they are being followed by unstressed syllables. So the first syllable is stressed and it has its own rhyme, and that's why it is sprung rhyme. Even the alliteration, so he uses the words, that means alliteration many times in each and every line. In each and every line he has tried to follow, he wanted to create the music of the syllable, and that's why he has continuously used in all lines alliteration. So if you go through any lines, glory, God, couple, color, then next you may say trot, that you can say, then next fresh fire coal, false finches. So all these are the alliteration which are repeated again and again in major of his lines. That is the one thing you can say. And at the same time in the sestet, there are 4.5 lines. So 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. 10th line, it is the half line. It is just the half line. It is not the complete full line. So he has curtailed the sonnet and he has introduced the new technique of this Petrarchian sonnet. And so when he wrote in this form, he was, that means not accepted this rhyming scheme. It was not accepted by his contemporaries, Samakalin Kavi. So those contemporaries, they did not accept his writing scheme, and they say it is not the style of writing a poetry. But really, if you see, he appealed with an innovative style, and it was accepted, and later on he became the Bard of England, or he can, so even, yes, he was born in, if you speak about his James Hopkins, Gerard Manley Hopkins, he was born in London, in Stratford, London, England, and later he, that means he was disturbed, and that's why he burnt all of his poetry, and he converted himself into a Roman Catholic and accepted the profession of a priest. He died in Ireland, Dublin, Ireland, you can say. So we can know how that means his attitude returns. His poems, they were published by his friend Robert Bridges. Robert Bridges, after his death, they are published afterwards. All his poems, they were published afterwards, or his volumes, they were published afterwards, after his death. So here now I will turn to the poem. So what is the theme of the poem? The theme of the poem is the colorful beauty of nature. Which is, who is the creator of this beauty? God is the creator of this beauty. And you cannot avoid God, or you cannot go against God. After all, he wants to speak about the harmony of what? The three things. The first, who is the creator? God is the creator at the top. In between is the nature. And finally is the man. So if there is harmony in between these three, the God, the nature and the human being, all these three, they are important, but overall among this, who is the most powerful or the creator of everything? He is God. He knows everything, and what he specifically want to say, that you should not go against the glory of God. You should respect, and you should know that everything, it is been created by God, and you should abide the laws of nature or laws of God which are been given to you, and if you go by that way, you will get peace and happiness. So which has been mentioned, and then where there is peace, there is harmony, there is progress. So that message, it has been given through this poetry. So in the first half section, or you may say in the first 6 lines of this Italian sonnet, he speaks about the physical, colorful beauty of nature. Physical, colorful beauty of nature, which he has highlighted through different examples. And this beauty, we should be thankful to God, which he has mentioned in the very first line of the poem, when he says, "Glory be to God for dappled things." Dappled means what? Colorful, multicolored things. All the multicolored things created in this world, they are all the creation of God. They are all the creation of God, and that's why he says glory. Glory in Marathi we may call it as Vaibhav. Vaibhav konacha? Devacha Vaibhav. So glory of God. So glory of God for dappled things. What it is for? It is for all the colorful things created by God in the nature. So that is the glory of the God. And that glory, it should be accepted by everyone. And what are the different examples, physical examples which are being given? They are clearly mentioned in the next 5 lines of this poem, of the first stanza. So the first example, he quotes about the skies. For skies of couple color, I'll read the first stanza. For skies of couple color, as a brinded cow, for rose moles all stipple upon trot, that swim fresh fire coals, chestnut falls, finches wings, landscape plotted and pieced fold, fallow and plow, and all trades their gear and tackle and trim. So just see now the examples which he has given about this colorful beauty. More than 2 colors. So the first example is of the sky. Skies, when he says, for skies of couple color. So the sky itself, with the rising sun, what is the color of the sky? In the afternoon time, what is the color of the sky? In the evening time, what is the color of the sky? When there is rainfall, before rainfall, it is completely black. So the sky itself is colorful. The sky itself is colorful, and the colors of the sky, they are compared to brinded cow. Brinded cow means what? Brinded cow. So here again he uses simile, as it is a simile, that means as and like. So this figures of speeches. So here as he compares that sky to what? He compares sky to brinded cow. Cow itself, the color of the cow, it might be complete white or black, and on it there might be different spots or strips. So it's what it is called as brinded. Brinded means spotted, stripped, with different colors. So just like when I say this blackboard is green in color, but at the same time the chalk which I have used, it might be of 2 colors, 3 colors. So here also the background color or the color of the cow, it might be white and it might be spotted with black, grey, red, whatever it might be. So here also in a similar manner the sky, it changes its color. So the nature, it changes its color. The first example, it is of the sky and it is correlated with the brinded cow. It has been compared to the brinded cow in the second line. The next example now I turn to. So here one more technique which he has used as these couple color, rose moles, fresh fire coals, chestnut falls. These are the compound words. This is also one of the new technique which he has adopted in his poem. So what is the new technique? He has brought these new words, 2 compound words or 2 words, they have been joined, and he made them as a compound single word. And this innovative technique, it is also one of the fresh technique which he has adopted in his poem, I would say. So this, when he says rose mole, rose we know is rose is a flower. So here you want to specifically say red rose, and secondly mole. Mole in Marathi we may call it as tir, to a spot, he can say. So mole, and these 2 words he has combined together, and for what he has addressed that this word to symbolize this word rose moles to. This rose mole, it symbolizes trot. What is trot? T-R-O-U-T. Trot is a sea fish. Trot is a sea fish, and the scalular body, the scales किंवा जे खवले असतात, माशाच्या वरती जे खवले असतात, त्यालाच आपण काय म्हणतो? स्टिपल अपॉन विथ ट्रॉट. So stipple, that means dotted, spotted. Upon with these rose moles, that means the color, red rose, they're just like the scales of that fish, sea fish trout. It is a sea fish and it is red in color, and the scales on that fish, it is what? It is spotted. What like? It is spotted like rose moles. So the different image which he has focused here, that is rose moles. So this is the second example. which he speaks about. The first is of the skies. How the skies they look like a brinded cow. And the second example which he has focused, it is about the fish. Trout is a sea fish. And how does it looks? It looks like rose moles, spotted, scalular body of it. It looks like, that means the spots he compares to rose moles. So that is the second example given of dappled things or colorful beauty, more than one color. So that beauty example it has been given. Next he says about the fresh fire coal. Fresh fire coal. Coal means what in Marathi? We may call it as kolsa. So this fresh fire coal, Chestnut Falls. So just see the first semicolon is given. One idea. Here two things they have been mentioned in one single line. In first line it was sky. Second line it was trout. In third line 2 things they have been mentioned. One is chestnut. Chestnut is a fruit. Chestnut is a fruit. So when it is hanging on the tree, its color is black. Its color is black. But when it falls on the ground, it breaks. And the fruit, the original color of the fruit, it is red in color. It is red in color, and that's why he compares that fruit to what? He compares that fruit to that fresh fire coal. So fresh fire coal, not different coal, but what kind of coal? Fresh fire coal before burning or before it is placed in that fire. So likewise, the color of that coal is black. And when it burns, it turns red. So that fresh fire coal, chestnut, that fruit, when it falls from the tree, the color of that fruit, it changes from black to red. How? Because the cover of it, it is like it is black in color, and when it falls, it breaks, and the internal fruit, the color is red. That is the third example which has been given in the poem. Next, he speaks about the finch's wings. Finches is a kind of a sparrow bird. So there are more than 50 species of this bird, sparrow, chimney. That means there are more than 50 species. 50 पेक्षा अधिक काय याचे species आहे, प्रकार आहे. कोणते याचे? Finches. This is a bird. There are more than 50 kind of species. And when it flies, the wings of this bird, they are multicolored, more than 2, 3, 10 colors. If you go on internet, if you see the image of this bird, finch, you can see the multicolored sparrow, that finch you can say. So it is very colorful. The beak is in different color, the neck is different color, the wings they are of multicolor, and that's why this is the minute observation of the poet, and that's why he says the nature has its own colors. The nature has its own color, and this example is given of the finch bird. So it is given of the finch bird. So finch wings, here he has specifically mentioned wings, but the bird itself is multicolored. The bird itself is multicolored, and there are 50 species, more than 50 species of this bird. So this is the fourth example given. So first sky, second example which I have told you, it is of the trout sea fish. Third example is of the chestnut. And fourth example is of the finch. Now next he turns to the landscape. Landscape, here we may correlate it for agriculture purpose. Agriculture purpose. The land which has been cultivated for farming. The land which has been cultivated for farming. Or when we look at the land initially, what does it looks like? It is plotted and pieced. What is land? So if you go in mountainous area, there are small plots. जसं आपण ग्रामीण भागात शेताच्या अशा ताली दिसतात अशा त्या ठिकाणी. सो इफ यू गो इन कोंकण region, or you can say ours is a plain region, Nagar district is plain, but if you go in mountainous region, so what are there? The land, it is cut, it is plotted, it is pieced. So this is the physical description. So two actions here, half is what? It is man, God made, and secondly, this is the action of man. This is the action of man. And what does man? He cultivates the farm. He cultivates the farm. So the farm is also colorful. How the farm is colorful? So if you see a land, when you can say when it is barren, likewise the wheat, it might grow, there might be some greenery, or when it is plowed, it might look black, and when it is not plowed, it might be look white. The shades, different shades of land, you can say. So it is also colorful. Land is also colorful. So here you can say we are being told. So first the physical description, that means physical description which it has been, God has given us plotted and paced, and man's activities, there is a hyphen in between. So what it tells about fold, fallow and plow. Fold means what? The folding. Folds, you can say. The man when he cultivates the land. Fold मराठीत आपण साऱ्या पाडणे, folds अशा एक एक हरू मारणे असं त्या ठिकाणी, cultivation which has been done by that harrow. So likewise these are the folds of land. Who makes them? It is man made. You can say for planting sugar cane or tomato or any other crop. Those are the folds. Fallow means what? In Marathi we may call it as padik zameen अशी, पडीक जमिनीला काय म्हणायचं? फॅलो, यू कॅन से फॅलो. अँड प्लाव म्हणजे काय? नांगरट केलेली अशी. सो दिस ऍक्शन्स, दिस फोल्ड, फॅलो अँड प्लाव, दिस ऍक्शन्स, दिस आर बीन टोल्ड और अबाउट whom? These actions they are been told about human being, man. These actions they are been commanded by man, and he changes the color of the land also, you can say. And this plotted and paced, this is the land which has been given by God to us, and later on the actions which are been performed by human being, they are fold, fallow and plow. So that is been told here. And finally he turns, so the sixth point which has been mentioned, it is of the farm, which is the farm which has been given by God, and how the farm, it is multicolored. And finally he gives a description about what? Trades. Trades म्हणजे काय? व्यापार. So the trades, so trade is also colorful. So gear, the word which has been used, trade machineries. When we say trade, व्यापार म्हटलं की काय राहणार? औद्योगिक सर्व काही गोष्टी त्याच्या इंटरलिंक राहणार त्या ठिकाणी. सो व्हॉट आर द मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग इंडस्ट्रीज, द मटेरियलिस्टिक लाईफ. सो हियर इन अ सेन्स इट इज ऑल्सो कलरफुल. So the selling, marketing, all those things they come under this, you can say, in trade, vyapar. So and all trades, what kind of trades? All kinds of trades. This he speaks about the farming profession, and next he speaks about the trade. Trade is also colorful. Their gear means what? Gear, it is the monitoring. So when you drive a car, it is being monitored by that gear. So gear, this it's correlates to the trade. The trade gear, that means ups and downs, they are in the trade. You can say gear and tackle and trim. Tackle, you should be able to handle. Tackling means what? Handling. And grim means what? So sorry, not grim, trim, sorry, trim means what? The perfection which you have achieved. So slim and trim, when we say slim and trim, what does it means? So the perfection, how you can achieve that perfection. So that thing, it has been told in this first 6 line, and the rhyming scheme is ABC, ABC. So if you see ABC, ABC, so this is the rhyming scheme of the first stanza. And what I have told you, the 7-8 examples which are been given here. So if you can just pay attention, which are the examples given here? Skies, trout, chestnut, finches, landscape and trade. These are the examples which are been given in the poem. And how do they relate to the theme of the poem? The theme of the poem itself is pied beauty, colorful beauty. And this colorful beauty, who has given us this colorful beauty? It is the glory of the God. It is the glory of the God, and due to God, we should be thankful to God. So here, just like Italian sonnet, the first stanza, what is it about? It is a specific description of nature, or the physical description of nature, and the creator behind that is God, and that it has been described in the first 6 lines of the poem. Now I will turn to the sestet. Now we know in between, the break in between these 2 stanzas, it is called as caesura. Caesura means what? It makes us to think. It makes us to think. In what manner it makes us to think? So everything is given to us. So then what is my role? I as a human being, what is my role? What duties I should perform? So that attitude to think. And finally, the poet, he gives solution in the sestet. That is the, naturally we may say, that is the structure of what? That is the structure of Italian sonnet. So here also in a similar manner, he speaks, he gives us a solution and also warns. Solution with warning. Warning indirectly it is to the human being. So on earth, who monitors nature? Nature is monitored by man, I would say. Nature is monitored by man. How? We may say the cultivation of the land, so buildings of houses. So one who goes or abides the rules of nature, naturally he will be happy. So indirectly you want to suggest, there is irony in the second stanza. Yes, what is the duty of mankind? So you should obey. You should obey God and you should go according to the rules and regulations which are been told by God to us. So he says, all things counter, original, spare and strange. So strange, so just see, these are the adjectives, some adjectives, strange, vichitra, nature. To understand a human being is difficult. To understand nature is simple. The things in nature, to understand a tree, naturally it will give us fruit. Naturally, it is fruitful. But to understand a mankind, a human being, outwardly how he looks, but inwardly how he plays a double role. So, the strange attitude of human being, the strange attitude of human being, even though that means there is a counterpart, original, some might be original, spare and strange. So, these are the human nature, and whatever is fickle, what is fickle? Beautiful. So, whatever is, you can say, you want to say about fickle and fickle. So, fickle means what? Colorful. Colorful and fickle means beautiful. So, whatever is, so indirectly just see, whatever is fickle, fickle. So, this is alliteration again. I have told you in every line there is what? There is alliteration. Sir sound here is repeated. Here also sound. So, here also in the next line also you may say sir sound, it is repeated again by the poet. So, here he says whatever is fickle, it's fickle. So, whatever that the colorful beauty, whatever is the colorful beauty, it is fair. So, whatever is fickle, it is fickle. So, whatever is colorful, that is beautiful. Whatever is colorful, that is beautiful. And in bracket, what he has quoted, in bracket he says, who knows how? Who knows how? This is ironical question. This is ironical question. How? Why does he want to say? Because yes, there is multicolor beauty is there, but are you that means knowing the importance of that beauty? It is indirectly addressed to the human being. It is indirectly addressed to the human nature. Are you abiding the rules and regulations which are being prescribed by the God, the nature of law or the justice of law, which that means the God is there at the top, and so are you abiding those? And that's why he says, who knows how? So indirectly he wants to suggest that human beings, they are not following the rules which are been given by us to God. Further he says, with swift. So just see, after every two words there is a semicolon. Semicolon is there, he has separated. So these two words. So just see the music in the poem. Swift, slow, sweet, sour. So there is alliteration, but at the same time, these words, swift and slow, opposite. Swift means what? Fast. Swift means fast. So how are you? That means swift, slow. That means you want to say, if you are running very fast, you will have to run. That means you have to come slow. So that means जसं आपण पाहतो ना, खूप असं फास्ट चालतो किंवा काही असं वेड्यावानी नुसतं इकडे तिकडे पाहत नाही, कोणाकडेच पाहत नाही आणि असं वाटतं की आय एम द मॉनिटर, आय नो एव्हरीथिंग. बट आफ्टर दॅट स्पीड देर इज यू शुड कम टू, दॅट मीन्स युअर स्पीड विल surely decrease. You might be in a youthful vigor. Now you are, you can say you are a youth. That means you have that flowing blood. The speed is more, but naturally it will slow down. After speed, you have to slow down. Sweet sour, second we say sweet. So you cannot eat all the things which are sweet. You will be fed up of eating sweet things. So generally in Diwali vacation, when all the eatables, sweet eatables were made in our houses, you cannot eat all the sweets at one time. So after eating, you are fed up. So our plate in our diet itself is also colorful. So thoda tikha, meetha, sab kuch hona chahiye. Everything it should be there. The taste What is it? It is the taste. After sweet, there is sour. So both things, they are essential. So here speed and to slow down, these are also essential. And here also sweet and sour, again there is semicolon. So these opposite words, they contribute to the theme of the poem. And finally he says a dazzle dim. A dazzle means what? The brightness. Brightness, light. And light and darkness, day alters night. In the nature also, if there would have been no night, what would naturally happen? एक रात्रच नसती तर माणूस झोपला कसा असता? Even though that means night, that means it is the cycle of the nature. One should not go against nature. So a dazzle dim. So likewise we should abide by the rules of nature. And finally he says, praise him. Why? That means overall he says, all these are the things which we should try to follow. And without that, no one can understand. And that's why he says, beyond all this, who is the creator? In the final half line of the poem, as I have told you, this is the structure of the poem is 10.5 lines. And finally he says, in the last half line, there are only 2 words, praise him. Praise him. Indirectly, he wants human being. He wants human being. You should know that who is the creator? God is the creator. And you should praise God. And you should abide the rules and regulations which are being given by God to us. You should abide the law of nature. And that is the message which he has tried to focus through the poem. And so overall, it contributes to the theme of the poem and how we should maintain harmony or peace in life. So he wants to tell us, what is happiness? Happiness is nothing but follow the law of nature. Then there you can get peace. Peace means what? Success. Success means progress. Progress means happiness. And that is the overall theme of the poem. And finally he says, for all this happiness, the 3 important things, that means God, nature and man, if they contribute and live in a harmony, knowing the importance of each other, one can always live a very happy life. Thank you.